Dear friends, welcome to the fourth course in the Journalism and Mass Communication program dealing with the subjects of design and graphics. In the previous lectures, we talked about the elements of design in newspapers and magazines besides other print publications. These included the type measurements, the typefaces, the points system, typography, essentials of printing, and the different elements of design. These elements included text, illustrations, space, rules, captions, boxes, borders, and other small elements. In the concluding lecture of this unit, we now take up the subject of graphics. By graphics is meant any object that is pictorial, illustrative, or diagrammatic in nature that lends visual and decorative appeal and support to a chosen area. For journalism, that chosen area is the page of a newspaper or magazine that are available to be used as different media products. How and when they are created or put to use and the guidelines for using them is also part of the whole ambit of pictures and graphics. Now these graphic elements can be broadly classified as photographs or pictures, as we call them, illustrations, cartoons, sketches, artwork, infographics, tables, charts and graphs, and also advertisements. Incidentally, advertisements are an independent category of graphics, but they are a composite element consisting of a picture or any illustration, text, infographics, and much else in terms of design, small points, small elements in color, and so on and so forth. All the elements are put together for a specific purpose of putting across a commercial message and then given out to the page designer as one element to be used as directed. So advertisements as such are obviously one class of graphics, but they cannot be treated as one graphic because they comprise so many elements together. So now we talk about each element separately, and first we take up photographs or pictures. There is a famous saying that a good photograph is worth 1,000 words of a story. Photographs have always been an essential part of the media products, and news photographers, or you can say press photographers, have earned as much name and fame as reporters and editors. Very often we have seen pictures independently creating that kind of an action and that kind of a reaction which is quite comparable to that evoked by a good story or a good report or a good article. So photographs can be independent editorial items or elements also. Today, although everyone is so used to having pictures of all colors, shapes, and sizes being used freely in all kinds of publications, there was a time in the early era of journalism when the technology for taking pictures and reproducing them in printed forms was not available at all. It was not freely available, and it was not very easy to do so. It was only after the invention of the camera that pictures could be taken and printed or reprinted, although the process initially was time consuming and very expensive. Then came the process of block making in the printing technology, through which photographs were processed and an engraved image comprising of dots on a zinc based chemically coated plate was made and mounted on a wooden block. That is why the whole thing was known as a block. This block was then put into the cast, which consisted of lead types of text and headlines produced by the hot metal linotype machines. This was indeed known as the hot metal era, when black and white photographs could be used in newspapers and magazines, but use of color photographs was still not possible. It was only with the advent of offset printing that color scanning and processing became easy and widely available. Computerization and subsequent availability of digital camera made things still easier, and today there is a possibility that a picture can be clicked and used in a publication within minutes, and thousands of copies of that publication can be printed and distributed throughout a chosen area within a few hours. It must be understood that as things have become easier on the technology front, the role of creativity has increased manifold. While in early times much creativity was not possible because there was no technology available to support it, today almost everything is possible. Therefore, the focus is on creativity. The changes in technology that we have just talked about have spanned about 3 to 4 decades. The invention of the camera, then the arrival of the offset printing technology, then the production of digital cameras, computerization, and so on. The related activities, therefore, have taken place in the last 20 odd years or so. So we can understand that all these great changes in reproduction of print and photographs are relatively very new as compared to the history of the newspaper industry. In print publications, many kinds of photographs are used. In news publications, the broad categories are of news photographs and feature photographs. The distinction is self-explanatory. News photographs are those that pertain to a news event of the day, while feature photographs may come from photo library or archives, or even from a day's outcome of a photographer, but they do not pertain to a news event. Rather, they pertain to an event which can be reported later, or the photograph can be stored for a later use. So, as far as the kinds of photographs are concerned, the main of them are personality pictures, stock pictures, live or action pictures, and representational pictures. So, first of all, let's have a look at the personality pictures. As the name itself suggests, these are pictures of well-known personalities in different fields of life that may be featured on certain relevant occasions. Obviously, such photographs need to be updated at regular intervals, since such every individual ages with time, and the publications must use the latest pictures. The flaw in using a picture showing an actor at his young age along with the current item about his activities is very obvious. However, most media houses keep a stock of pictures about eminent personalities at various stages of their lives, since these might be required to be used in case of their winning an award, or worse, in case of their demise. So, it is always advisable to store personality pictures showing the personality in question in different poses, different ages, different backgrounds, dresses, and with different people. The role of the makeup editor is to select the most suitable picture to go with an item concerning that personality on a given day. It could be an interview, it could be a piece of writing by that personality, or simply a reference to him or her. Personality pictures are generally stored in different sizes. so that they can be used either as cutouts or as diffused backgrounds on top of which text or headlines can be superimposed. For using on covers of magazines, an entirely different kind of personality photographs are taken in planned studio sessions or conditions created for this kind of photo shoots, either indoors or outdoors. When some personality, such as a politician or a social activist, is quoted as having said something newsworthy or something interesting which is to be reported by the publication, care must be taken to choose a picture that suits the mood or character of the statement being quoted. For example, it is very obvious that using a smiling or a laughing picture when the personality is expressing regret over something is not acceptable, and it may lead to further complications among the readers and among other people of the same field. Similarly, the use of a picture in which the personality is wearing heavy woolens is to be avoided to be used in summer months or in contexts that are different. The standard procedure is that the copy editor tells the photo librarian or the photo editor about the reason why and what kind of a personality photograph is required, and then asks for a relevant picture from the archives of the photo library. A little care and caution can actually avert a lot of disasters and controversies regarding use of such personality photographs. Today, when the focus is so much on using a personality photograph with even a small item, this kind of precaution becomes more important, so that only the relevant or the most suitable picture is selected. Otherwise, as we mentioned earlier, it can lead to different kinds of complications. Then we move to stock pictures. Stock pictures are pictures of well-known occasions, places and events. These are also generally kept in reserve and used as and when required. These include, for example, pictures of festivals, celebrations, decorations, elections, people at work, such as farmers working in fields, workers in factories or laboratories, employees in offices, students and teachers in classrooms or institutions, or scientists in labs or institutions, and so on. These photographs are procured either from photo agencies or the photographers themselves on assignment keep clicking them whenever they move out on a different assignment, any day or any time during their work. The demand for such photographs is very high in illustrated news or magazines. But nowadays, such photographs are very frequently used in newspapers also. Here, care must be taken to ensure that the stock photographs are updated regularly to reflect the changing realities. For example, using pictures of festivals or celebrations held too long ago with an item that is about a recent festival may not give a very correct impression, since things change, decorations change, the people's turnout changes, and so on. In case such a wrong decision is taken, it may create a wrong picture or suggest motives when there are none. Similarly, showing factory workers or employees in workplaces that ceased to exist decades ago, such as textile factories or boiler rooms and so on. This also should not be used. Such pictures also should not be used with the current article on labor situation. It may not be a very good idea to show factory workers when we are talking about labor problems and so on, because probably such factories do not work that way today. So care needs to be taken that a stock picture showing something that does not exist any longer or has changed dramatically is not used with the current article. Such pictures, in fact, as a rule, must have a relevant caption that makes it clear how old the picture is or on which occasion it is being shown. Even if a caption is not to be printed along with it in the publication concerned, it must be made available to the makeup editor to make the reference and context clear to him. As is the case with personality pictures, these stock pictures are also kept in store for quite a long time. In case these might be required to actually show the contrast between times now and then, such pictures can be used in two different contexts. At the same time, there is a need to keep discarding those pictures that have become completely irrelevant because no storage space, not even on computers, can be unlimited. Another rule that goes with such kinds of pictures is the mention of the word file photo or from the archives to go along with the caption to make it clear that the intention is to show only the reference and not the particular visuals that are being shown in that photograph. So next we come to live or action pictures. These are pictures that are taken on the day of a happening and are used the same day. These may be of a meeting, proceedings of an association, a demonstration, procession or agitation, a campaign, a cultural event, a sports event, a parade, and so on. So these pictures are provided by a system of people and cameras that is regularly available to the publication. This system could be either a regular photographer with a camera of his own or provided by the institution itself, or provided by a news agency that has been subscribed to. In case of a stock photographer, there could be a certain number of pictures from which one or two could be selected. So, in case of an agency picture, much choice may not be possible. So, the intention here is to have live or action pictures from people who are regularly supplying such pictures to the organization, because here the stress is on the particular moment which needs to be captured or a particular person who needs to be shown because of some achievement or some performance excellence. While selecting a live action picture for use in a publication, the factors kept in mind include clarity, timing, direction or orientation of the elements in the picture, the composition of the photograph, and the characters included in it, that is a tree or a road or a river or a field and so on. All these factors may or may not be applicable at one time depending on the occasion. In a sports event, for example, only the performing individual's moment of glory may be enough, while in case of a big demonstration, a picture showing a big crowd will serve the purpose even if none of them is identifiable. In case of a meeting, the key participants in the meeting must be shown or those addressing the meeting must be shown, while in case of a cultural performance, either the lead performer, whether a singer or a musician, should be highlighted, or the best moment in case of a group performance such as a stage play or a dance should be highlighted in the photograph that is to be selected. As we can see, very often the photographer may not have brought the picture which would have been the ideal one to be clicked at that moment, but a photographer may insist that what he has brought is the best. Such discussions and claims from the photographers are commonplace in a media publication, and usually it is none of the two arguments but the deadline which wins the day. Which photograph is to be selected may not depend on the photographer's choice or the editor's choice, but it is decided by the approaching deadline, which photograph has been provided in the given timeline. Simply put, if it is getting late, any picture will do. While having the complete caption with all the names with their correct spelling, the order in which the individuals appear in the photograph, the date, the time, and the place of an event are an absolute must in the caption. Such photographs actually give a lot to be learnt by both the photographer and the makeup editor. Both of them learn from what is written in the caption about the event, about the characters being shown there, and also about the mood and the environment of the photograph. Selected action pictures are generally kept in store for later use as stock pictures. As we can understand, a photograph of a very good sports person or his or her best moment, or the photograph of a performing artist is usually put in stock to be used in a later situation, such as an interview or an honor given to that performer or a sports person, and so on. So action pictures are generally stored properly with the date, time, and every detail mentioned very clearly, either in a separate file or along with the same photograph, but these should be tagged prominently and very properly to each other so that the captions and the photographs do not get mixed up. Next, we come to the category of representational pictures. What is this representational pictures all about? These pictures are the ones which are used along with special features or even regular news items to provide relief or just an illustration to explain a point. For example, if there is an item about telecom companies reducing their tariff or announcing a new launch or a new plan, or something happening in terms of policy regarding to telecom companies, the picture of a man or a woman using a mobile phone may be used with or without a caption. Similarly, if there is an item about the stock market registering a crash or registering a new high, the photograph of men and women showing signs of worry or signs of happiness on their faces could be used. With an item on education, a classroom picture could be used ideally either with or without students in it. As we can understand, in such cases, the types of individuals shown in the picture may not matter much. It means that the picture could show young men or women rather than students or senior citizens. If it is about the stock market, you can show young people or middle-aged people and so on. If it is about education, one may show a school's classroom or the classroom of a management institution or even a science lab and so on. In case of illustrated magazines or feature magazines, such pictures are used more frequently and in a much greater variety and range. For example, in stories related to crime, dramatized pictures or pictures created on purpose featuring actors or actresses could be used. Such pictures, as we understand, are obviously planned and clicked in studio circumstances or location backgrounds. Representative pictures, unlike stock pictures, cannot be used repeatedly and are generally used afresh every time, because there could be 20 occasions in a month when we are talking about telecom companies, or there could be n number of times when we are talking about stock exchange crash or stock exchange high, or education policy undergoing a change, and so on. So we cannot use such pictures repeatedly. So these representational photographs must be provided by a photographer or through a photo agency on a regular basis so that the stock is updated every time. And there is also a possibility that such pictures may also be provided by writers or contributors who have filed such an article in case their articles are being used. These kinds of photographs generally pertain to a travelogue or some kind of an event where the writer himself has been present, and so on. So there are some precautions in using all kinds of photographs which have been discussed so far. The general rule in case of all kinds of photographs is that the people featuring in such photographs should not appear to be posing for the camera, for the photographer who has clicked it. In case of photographs of meetings, conferences, public appearances, public gatherings, etc., the photographers take special care to click when the subject is not looking into the camera and is in action, such as waving to the crowd, raising a hand to make a point, making a gesture, and so on. Exceptions are generally made in case of ceremonial occasions or celebrities when the individuals being photographed are expected to be posing in any case, like taking a salute or standing straight in, say, the Parliament House, and so on, or in a parade. Another general rule is that the photographs must be used on the pages in such an orientation and in such a direction that the individuals who are in focus in the pictures are not looking towards the outside of the page margin. It means that if the person or the persons featuring in the picture are looking towards the left of the picture, then the picture should not be used in the left side of a left hand page. If it is used this way, then the person in photograph would appear to be looking out of the newspaper page. The makeup editor must be told about such an orientation before the placement of the photograph on the page is planned. In fact, in most cases, generally, the makeup editor may ask the photographer to provide a left orientation picture or a right orientation picture, or he may give an instruction that he needs a photograph in which the subject is looking straight or a little inclined towards any of the directions which will suit the page that is being designed. Another precaution is that photographs not showing the relevant details are too dark or too light, regardless of the subject matter, are better not used. It must be remembered that it is better not to use a picture rather than using a bad quality picture, because a reader always remembers only the good visuals. A series of good visuals used over a number of days may not be remembered, but a bad picture will ruin everything good that has been done. So it is better to avoid using a bad quality picture. The question of photographs being acceptable on standards of public decency is also an important one. Pictures showing graphic violence, unacceptable behavior in public or private, or encroaching upon individuals' privacy or dignity not only bring disrepute to a publication but may also invite legal action in addition to public wrath. There are actually several laws outlining what is acceptable and what is not, but these laws are generally flexible, and the question of the people's right to know versus the media's right to freedom of expression is generally a complex one and not very easy to tackle. But every day, everywhere, the media persons or the editors have to take a decision which is in keeping with the standards of decency and dignity of the publication as well as of the readers thereof. There is a separate discipline known as photojournalism, and as we are discussing photographs as a component of newspapers, let us quickly understand what is meant by photojournalism. It is a particular form of journalism by which we mean the collecting, editing, and presenting of news material for publication or broadcast that creates images in order to tell a news story. It is now usually understood to refer only to still images, but in some cases the term also refers to video used in broadcast journalism. Photojournalism is distinguished from other close branches of photography such as documentary photography, social documentary photography, street photography, or celebrity photography by the qualities of timeliness, that is, the images should have meaning in the context of a recently published record of events; objectivity, the situation implied by the images should be a fair and accurate representation of the events they depict, both in terms of content and tone; and narrative, that the images combine with other news elements to make facts relatable to the viewer or reader on a cultural level. So, timeliness, objectivity, and narrative are the three factors which distinguish photojournalism from all other kinds of photography, which may have different intentions for the viewer. Like a writer, a photojournalist is a reporter, but he or she must often make decisions instantly and carry photographic equipment, often while exposed to significant obstacles such as physical danger, weather, crowds, unseemly behavior of people, unruly mobs, and even unpredictable kind of events when a news event is most likely to happen. Taking photographs for newspapers takes skill, it requires training, some kind of certification, and countless hours of working in the field in order to cultivate talent. Newspaper photographers, also known as photojournalists as we mentioned here, can be employed through a variety of media. They must produce truthful, newsworthy action images of breaking stories, events, and people on the given deadline. Being a photojournalist can be an enriching and rewarding career for those who are passionate about the craft. Internships and volunteer work are commonly required to land a steady career in photojournalism. We are mentioning these things here because when we are talking about journalism and mass communication, the use and the context of photographs is an essential one, but the branches of career for becoming a reporter or an editor or a photojournalist are slightly different and divergent. Now let us come to illustrations. An illustration is an artist's creation made to depict either a theme, or a combination of elements. An illustration would generally be used with a feature or with a magazine article. These are especially commissioned items and are created as per the instructions of the editor. There is very little possibility of an illustration being used twice, except in case of illustrations that depict a regular occasion, such as a festival. Also, there is very little possibility of the same illustration used by two publications, unless the artist himself has given it to two publications, and then he is sure to lose his work in either of the two publications if he does so. Illustrations would indicate the general sweep of the subject matter of the accompanying article. It may not be about an individual face or an individual element. It is the artist's flair and expression that is meant to be appreciated more, rather than the association of the subject matter with any article. In a sketch, we are talking about a sketch now, the subject matter would generally be of an individual or a theme that is made on abstract lines. This is how a sketch is different from an illustration. Sketches also are made by artists and are generally used repeatedly. This is the major difference between an illustration and a sketch. Sketches generally show a typical characteristic of an individual, such as the streak of white hair, a typical style of wearing a turban, spectacles, and so on. Such sketches are created in a creative stroke by the artist and retain their uniqueness even in repeated use. Such sketches are usually made on demand and are kept in stock for use as and when required. Cartoons, on the other hand, are caricature drawings, sketches basically, but they twist the features of an individual or a situation to create humor. Cartoons could be made on demand or could be drawn and put in a stock to be used later when and where required. In early times, newspapers used to carry big hand-drawn cartoons with rather verbose captions explaining everything in great detail, because they were drawn in black and white and therefore could be used as quick line drawing blocks which could be made easily. In fact, if we see newspapers of early times, 18th century and early 19th century, we can see a large number of cartoons even as elements of advertisements, because they could be made easily and a lot of space could be filled up by a big cartoon with a long caption. So, cartoons are in the strict sense of editorial product, not only a means to generate humor on a daily basis, but as I said, on a journalistic level, these are the means to make a stinging statement, a telling statement about the prevailing political or social situations. All over the world, the media, especially newspapers and news magazines, have been using cartoons to make fun of political figures, political or social situations, and also general day-to-day events. In fact, some legendary cartoonists in India, such as Sudhir Dar, R.K. Lakshman, Ranga, etc., have been great intellectuals, and whatever they conveyed through their cartoons were never taken lightly. Many cartoonists have gone on to create iconic figures as the common man or the typical student or the typical neta and so on. And many serious statements and serious situations have been either explained to the readers through a cartoon featuring that typical character, or some difficult or very ticklish situations have been handled with great care and caution through a cartoon, so that the people can be made to understand the seriousness of the situation. The key factors about cartoons is that they must make a serious statement without appearing too serious in appearance. The art, therefore, is to strike a balance between being too childish and too subtle, and yet being not too repetitive. There is always a danger in making cartoons that a same situation is repeated after every few days, because a continuing news story does not make or does not appear to take too many twists and turns. So there is a possibility that beginners in the mass communication industry, or beginners who want to get into cartooning, often try their hand at making cartoons, and they end up being either too childish, too caricaturish, and too repetitive. So it must be remembered that it takes a long time to get established when one can actually express a thought or a vision or a statement or even a headline through a gesture in a cartoon. So for accomplishing this kind of mastery over cartoons, one must have a grasp of the subject about which a cartoon is being made, as also a grasp over language and the strokes of the brush. So for beginners who want to get into cartooning, it must be remembered that just making good sketches or just having very fine and strong strokes may not be enough to make a good, memorable cartoon. With the advent of computer assisted all color drawings becoming easy to make and simply available everywhere, most artists now draw a cartoon on paper, then get it scanned, adding finer and finishing touches at a later stage. There is also a much greater possibility of creating distortions, thereby coming up with funnier cartoons of individuals. The important thing with the cartoons is not the degree of distortion, but the depiction of an unusual feature in the face of the personality who is being sketched about and who is the subject of the cartoon. Thus, the hairstyle and hair coming out of the ears of a politician, unusual ears or a long neck, small or large eyes, the style of wearing a turban, the streak of hair, the art of wearing a shirt or sari, and so on, all are happy signs for a cartoonist. In fact, these provide the tools for a cartoonist to work on, and they actually serve as starting points to prepare a good cartoon of that individual. So cartoons also are mostly made on a relevant occasion and kept in stock, so that whenever is a requirement occurring again, the same cartoon can be used. This is quite different from a regular daily cartoon, which can be used either on the front page of the magazine or a newspaper, or on a set page of a publication on a daily or a weekly basis, or whatever the periodicity of the publication. In that case, that cartoon which is going regularly over a period, that is daily or weekly and so on, that kind of a cartoon is a one-time, one-off kind of a sketch which will never be made again. And The other kinds of cartoons are those of individuals and events which can be used repeatedly and on several occasions later on, such as uh, a leader or a politician talking to people in front of him, or some scientist working in a lab, or a man crossing the street, and so on. So such cartoons can be used on different occasions repeatedly, but a cartoon which has a fixed order of appearance is to be used only once. Then we come to the category of artwork. An artwork is a piece of work in which multiple and diverse elements are used to create a message, an advertisement, or an accompanying picture with an article. These elements could be personality pictures, stock pictures, color backgrounds, abstract features and shapes, etc. Artwork is generally created by artists who appear to be in a hurry. A stroke here, a color strip here, a face here, and an abstract figure of a tree or a flower or an animal can comprise an artwork which could go with a related article. In newspapers, an artwork is generally prepared by artists who are either part of the team or whose services are obtained for small periods or for that particular occasion. In most cases, an artwork is date specific creation, and therefore the same piece cannot be used repeatedly. One can recall an artwork going either with a very longish essay kind of an article, or even a work of fiction featuring in a magazine, or if it is about environment versus development kind of a story, then an artwork showing a combination of elements, that is a farmer or a laborer and working fields and coal mines and equipment used in mining, etc. These can be combined together to create a visual kind of a statement which fits with the contents of the article with which this artwork is to be used. So as we can see that an artwork is basically an alternative of a single or many photographs, because an artwork would combine many photographs as well as hand-drawn sketches or facts and figures or anything which is written and to be shown as text, as placards and signboards and so on. So an artwork is a fairly good and comprehensive means to show something which is both visual and textual in its appeal. The next element we talk about is infographics. As the name suggests, it is a combination of information and graphics combined together. These are basically graphic visual representations of information, data or statistics. These graphics present complex information with the help of a graph or a table integrated with a visual that could be a photograph, sketch or even an abstract shape. Incidentally, making an infographic seems a little complicated, but it adds value to an article if an infographic is complicated. Thus, one can see infographics with abstract lines and strokes used to indicate a bar graph, just a line going horizontally or vertically, or it could be in terms of representation of anything, any element or any subject matter of the accompanying article, and on that visual the facts and figures could be mentioned. The creation and use of infographics has become extremely popular in both newspapers and magazines, since it provides an opportunity to present dry statistics in a colorful form, attracting the reader's attention. For example, information about China's rising defense capability over the years can be shown as a dragon getting bigger over the years, with the statistics superimposed over the sketch of the dragon. Or if one is talking about the rising number of telecom subscribers, one can show a handset or even the telecom towers on which the facts and figures could be superimposed. So here we are presenting information in terms of data or statistics, but we are using it in combination with a graphic which is related to the subject matter. Therefore, the term infographics. This is a relatively new product used by the media in the recent years, but it has caught the fancy of editors and designers across the world. And today, as we mentioned earlier, the more complicated an infographic, the more informative and the more value is added to it and to the article accompanying the infographic. Next we come to tables, charts and graphs. As the terms suggest, these are statistical items that can be used as single entities also. Such a use is preferred when the statistical information is small, running into say 3 rows and 2 columns. So rather than use any other graphic, we just use a small table or a small chart showing the figures as it is. Obviously, the information used in a table or a chart or a graph should not be very bulky, and therefore it can be given in very simple table or charts which could be used in the middle of the text and also as part of the headline or part of the visual with which the graphics can be used. And tables, charts and graphics and graphs are usually used when we are talking about comparative figures or showing the pattern of growth or decline in any subject, or we are talking about commodities or market products and so on. So basically, whenever simple comparisons are being made or we are referring to a future projection and so on, such graphs and tables are used as a matter of routine. All the above mentioned elements qualify as being graphics. Their availability and creation is dependent on the space on the page and the creative demand of the makeup editor. As mentioned earlier, good publications were being brought about some years ago as well, but they did not carry too many photographs. So some general considerations for using graphics on pages have emerged over the years, which distinguish today's publications from those brought out some years ago. These considerations are: number one, the number of graphics must be kept limited on a page to avoid the page looking cluttered with all sorts of elements. One must pay attention that a photograph and a cartoon and a sketch and an infographic, all things together are not used on one page. In case one wants to show a strong bout of creativity, because it will end up making the page appear cluttered and bad. Number two, the creation of illustrations and infographics should not be overdone for the sake of showing creativity. The impact of such overdose is just the opposite. An example here would be, if we are talking about a film actor or a celebrity and we want to create an infographic or an illustration and we use a big provocative kind of a photograph, because we feel that, okay, since it is a celebrity we are writing about, we can overdo things. But in most cases, such an overdoing actually has quite an opposite impact on the readers, who may feel that it is something extra and avoidable which is being offered to them. So it should never be overdone. Number 3, a graphic other than a photograph is generally not used in case of a report or an article on a serious subject. Instead of that, just a personality picture or a map, as the case may be, are considered for use. For example, if we are talking about the changing equations between India and the neighboring country, it's better to use a map of the two countries or the faces of the leaders of the two countries superimposed on the map, rather than make a map and play with it, adding trees and rivers and figures to it. Number 4, a sense of balance has to be maintained in using 2 or more graphics on a page, so that the page does not become lopsided or top heavy. If there are 4 elements that must be used, then 2 must be on one side of the page and the other 2 must be on the other side of the page. Computer assisted page design gives us many opportunities to use pictures or graphics in as many ways as we want. Some innovative and widely used options are superimpositions, sequence photographs, multiple exposures, and abstract photographs. These are actually photographic specialties, and in the hands of experienced designers, these can produce dramatic effect and appeal. Quickly, superimposition is the use of one graphic element over another, either fully or partially. Even headlines can be superimposed over photographs, provided the photograph has some area such as the sky or grass or plain ground, blank wall and the like, that can be used for superimposing the headline. This produces a dramatic effect and also saves space. It is a fairly common occurrence in magazines, but other applications and publications also use it, but with lesser frequency. In newspapers, this can be used in feature types of reports, such as in sports or weekend features. Sequence photographs are those in which a live action sequence is photographed in quick succession with a high-speed camera, and the result is several pictures in a sequence indicating every moment's movement. For example, a person is falling on the ground or a sports person is hitting a ball. Multiple exposures may appear similar, but they are quite different from the earlier one, and the same spot is filmed over a period of time. So, in case of a lunar eclipse, for example, we often see photographs where the various stages of the eclipse are shown in sequence, shot over a period of time, but at the same place. Such elements are used in such a manner to add drama and interest in the photographs. Abstract photographs, as the name would suggest, are of any subject or object and can be used with any item. For example, the picture of a tree can be used with an item about education and knowledge, spirituality, environment, and even the weather. In the hands of good designers, such elements can add immense appeal for the readers. As far as web productions are concerned, generally the principles of using graphics are largely unchanged, so that a sense of overdoing, clutter and imbalance are avoided. And since the use of the internet is largely dependent on the availability of bandwidth that is critical to the speed of surfing, attention has to be paid to the size of the pictures also. Using a large number of pictures of large sizes in terms of pixels or bytes can make a website quite large and heavy in size, thereby causing problems in its opening or downloading or even its viewing. Therefore, the common set of using visuals on websites is to use two kinds of pictures, one a small sized thumbnail and the other large sized high resolution pictures which can be opened only if the viewer wants to. It must be remembered that the use of a screen is imperative to using the internet. So, the reproduction of any visual is not the same as it would appear on the paper, which is in the case of a print publication. Then of course there is the issue of suitability of visuals for the web, because the web is a medium that is used in a hurry by readers or visitors of all kinds and ages. So infographics do not serve much of a purpose. In their place, simple tables or charts are preferred, since the sketches or illustrations may be used separately in smaller size. It is always a matter of debate as to what matters more in a good media product, text or visuals. While it is not easy to answer this question, it must be remembered that while the two can be equally important, at times the two can complement each other as well. A good picture can lose its importance because of a poor report or a bad caption, and a good story can lose all impact if the accompanying picture is ineffective. It is a question of excellence adding to excellence. With this, we come to a close of this unit related to design and graphics in the lectures. So far, we have talked about text, headlines, illustrations or graphics being used in page design, and all such elements can be used creatively to prepare a pleasing and meaningful page. In our next discussion, we shall move on to a new and another exciting set of subjects. Till then, my best wishes and thank you.